Hey guys, MoiDawg here, and I'm happy to say that after 6 months of waiting, we're finally getting a brand new update for Squad v2.12. The last time we've gotten anything new in game was August of 2021, and as great as it was to get a brand new map, Anvil, if I'm being honest, many servers stopped running it after a few weeks due to poor performance and lopsided gameplay. Personally, I was a fan of it and I still think it's a really interesting map, but it's pretty much all we had in the terms of new content, with smaller bug fixes and update patches rolling out early in the year after 2.0 dropped in February. Yes, I said that right. The last big content drop for Squad was roughly 1 year ago. It's been a long year. So, what's in v2.12 and is it worth your time to jump back in game? This update includes a complete visual overhaul of Squad, with new shaders, graphic fidelity, shadows, and lighting to make the game look much more realistic, while bridging the gap between low quality and max quality players, since previously those who chose to run on low settings would have a much higher competitive advantage to those who ran everything on max. The shadows look realistic, tunnels are actual tunnels, sun reflects off things like they would normally in the real world, and it's just a really cool feeling running around Squad and feeling like you're playing a game that came out recently and not one that started early access 7 years ago. Additionally, muzzle flashes have now been included to render past 50 meters, and you can actually see them up to 1,000 meters away. Not only is this nice in heavily forested areas like Manic or Gorodok, but we played around a Muta Invasion, which is a night lair, and the particle effects and muzzle flashes now just look so cool. I know some might think it looks a little Hollywoody and maybe it does need a little tweak and dial it back a little bit, but I think they're a welcome change with how difficult it is to see things in general in Squad, and now especially when you have the new graphics and shadows. Also, for all you helicopter pilots out there, you also might notice that helis now have rotor wash when you get near enough to the ground, with debris flying, dust kicking up, and vegetation bending and blowing away from the chopper. With all of these settings also come a complete overhaul of Gorodok and Yehorivka, and they honestly look like completely different maps. I played rounds on both, and the amount of detail included is extremely impressive. Running around through the maps now feels like you're in real forests and not some neon copy-pasted grass field, and the biggest negative thing I can say is that these overhauls actually make the other maps look dated. I'm sure they'll be worked on in the future, but Goro and Yeho are just so good now compared to the rest. Not only do the visuals look nice on these maps, but there are even new POIs. Yeho, for example, has a new bus stop and a couple checkpoints. There's a brand new village along the Northern Highway. A small farm has popped up near Zeno's homestead. Zalata ruins have been expanded. The school in Mogi has been fortified, as well as a few trenches placed just north of the town. And the quarry actually looks like a real rock quarry. It just looks so realistic. And supposedly there are also a few other goodies hidden and placed around the new maps. So if you do see anything, please let me know since I've been on the hunt for some. Now, as exciting as this is, I do want to be upfront with you guys here and say that as of right now, a lot of people are having performance issues with these new settings. Although this update has been intended on helping those with lower end PCs see a much better game, those with higher end PCs, and I'm talking about 3080s and 90s, are for whatever reason getting extremely low frame rates. Some monster PCs are reportedly getting 40 to 50 FPS compared to 90 plus before the update. On the other hand, other monster builds are fine. They're getting exactly the same frames that they did before, or even better than they did before with the new graphics. Some people with much weaker PCs running 1060s or 1070s are actually having stable 70 plus frames on most maps. I actually don't even know what the problem is, since I can't point to any one setting here and say do this to make your game run better. I wish I could. I wish I could also say, hey, upgrade this part or maybe extend this. I just don't know. Right now, nobody can really tell you if one certain thing is the problem. Now, in saying that, please, right now, if you have played Squad since the update, please type in the comments below your CPU, graphics card, and your average frames on the new Gorodok and Yeho maps. I took a poll on Twitch and it's just all over the place. I'm not even kidding you. 2 people in chat had the same exact build, but same CPU, same graphics card, everything was exactly the same, and one person was getting 30 FPS and the other was getting 80. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't think anybody knows. I've reached out to the devs, and just as I sat down with them for a couple hours to create my original graphics guide, I'm going to be doing the same thing to make an updated one for all this new stuff, especially since there's such dramatic differences in FPS from player to player. Right now, however, if you're having incredibly low frame rates, please try the following. First, try clearing your shader cache by pressing the Windows key and typing disk cleanup, making sure everything is unchecked except DirectX shader cache. Run the program. Once cleanup has run, all of your old shaders will be deleted, and hopefully some of that cache stuff will help improve your performance. You'll also want to clear your settings in-game by clicking Clear User Data Cache, but please make sure your keybinds and settings are saved beforehand because it will completely reset the game. With both of these caches cleared, try running the game and seeing if it improves anything. There are reports of instantly getting 20 to 30 more FPS with this solution, and credit to Chase Easton 07 on Reddit for first posting it. If you're still having issues, try deselecting tessellation in your graphics setting, as this can cause huge performance drops as well. And last but not least, it's always good to right-click squad in your Steam library, go to Properties, Local Files, and then verify integrity of local files if you still have no solution. If after all this, you still can't seem to get any good performance, I've also linked the form OWI has asked users to fill out so they can properly sort through the data and fix it. I know a lot of y'all are incredibly frustrated that after 6 months of nothing, you're loading up the game and getting horrible performance, game-breaking performance. Some of y'all have literally been unable to play a game you've played for years. I get it. I get that everyone's frustrated, but the only way they can fix it is if they get constructive feedback and actual data points. I played the playtest a few months ago, and others who did as well can back me up on this. I didn't have any issues with frames at all, so I'm kind of confused too. FPS was fine, so I'm thinking there's something going on with the release build itself that they have to get to the bottom of. Now, all of our frustrations aside, there still is a lot of other things in this update. First is the implementation of a proper buddy boost, and you can now vault over crouching or standing players, allowing you to climb up and over walls or onto roofs. This kind of worked in the past, but sometimes you would get launched away from the wall you were climbing onto. But I haven't had any issues with this at all now, and it's a really nice way to get to some hard-to-reach places for sneaky toes or even radios. We also got a new Ragdoll, which reacts much better to gravity when a player is killed. Momentum seems to be carried forward too, so if someone is running forward and is shot, their body will continue that forward motion and hit the ground. It looks really nice, and seeing people drop like they actually have weight is something that I didn't think I needed in squad, but now I really can't get enough of it. Additionally, this has also fixed an issue with dragging players, and I found that grabbing onto down players to move them around is so much easier than before, and they also don't twitch or slingshot back and forth when you place them down. Overall, it's a really nice change to player models. There are also a few quality of life changes too, such as squad leaders and FTLs can no longer spam markers, and there's now a small 1.2 second cooldown before you can place another one. I know some people are super frustrated about this, but as someone who plays squad leader a lot and having FTLs just spam an observation mark as a vehicle is moving, I am super happy no longer to hear the little tick 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 of the observation mark being placed. Additionally, if you are promoted to a fire team leader or you are added to a fire team, an indicator now pops up on the left of your screen showing what team you're in and who the leader is. This is also updated as it changes throughout the game, which is really nice for squad organization. Additionally, some damage tweaks have also been added to the game to make explosions a bit more realistic. If you're in an open top vehicle or a passenger of something like a Samir car and a grenade lands next to you, you will now take damage. And if you're standing next to a vehicle that explodes, there is now a much larger and more powerful damage radius when that thing goes boom. This is a big one for me since I've been personally repairing vehicles that pop off literally inches away from my face, yet I'm able to walk away like nothing happened. And although there are some new map layers, including some new seating ones with one flag, 4-hour time limits, and no team swap restrictions, the only really big gameplay change is that capture points now have a scaling mechanic included. Previously, no matter how many players you had on a point, the capture time would all be the same. Now, capture speed will scale with how many players are actually on the objective. This mechanic will kick in if one team has a 4-person advantage on the enemy, meaning that if the enemy has 1 person on point and you have 5, you will now capture the objective 10% faster. If you have a 5-person advantage, it's 20%, and it scales all the way up to 50% faster with 6 people, making a 120-second flag being able to be captured in only 80 seconds. This might not seem a lot at first glance, but in the game I played, I actually noticed that the enemy team was able to create a double neutral situation because the objective we were neutralizing was contested, whereas the enemy had moved an entire squad on our completely undefended cap, which meant capture scaling allowed them to neutralize just in time before we were able to secure our objective. I think this will make defending back caps much more important, and I really hope to see some positive play from it. Finally, there are quite a few bug fixes and balancing tweaks, such as ammo values being adjusted, new sounds to explosions, the new G3 sound, which I think is a huge improvement to what it was in the past, and the sad nerf to AT4s, which means the damage will no longer one-shot helicopters. But that's about it in v2.12. If you want to know every little detail, since there is a long list of bug fixes and a little bit more in-depth look in the graphic changes, please see the link below for the full patch notes. Overall, I've got to say that I enjoyed my first day of 2.12. The graphics look great, and even though I will admit I'm getting significantly lower frames, for whatever reason it still felt smoother than it had in the past. I don't know if I'm crazy or if I'm making it up, but it almost felt like how a console game would play with a steady 30 FPS and be okay compared to a choppy 60 FPS computer game. I don't know if that even makes sense, and I know it's not intended, and I honestly believe the devs will fix it, but it didn't take away from my experience. Surprisingly enough, I didn't get any crazy hitching, even with the FPS dropping in the 50s. In saying that, however, it's actually 100% unacceptable that a game releasing in 2022 can't provide, at a minimum, a stable 60 FPS. And speaking with the devs, they are trying to fix it. I've waited 6 months to get this update. I'm more than happy to wait a little bit longer for the performance to even out and get fixed. However, personally, I'm actually not having that many issues with it. Some people literally can't play the game, so I want to be very upfront in saying it is 100% not acceptable. I'm really hoping some of these solutions I mentioned in the video can help you play, and fingers crossed that we get a quick solution sooner than later from OWI. But what do you guys think? Are you enjoying 2.12? Does Goro and Yeho live up to the hype? Or are you having performance issues and you really can't do anything? Let me know in the comments below, and if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. But that's it for me. Until next time, peace. Oh, I think we got him! Dude, all because of the muzzle flashes.